Hey guys, it's me, and today I'm going to be talking about Attack on Titan episode 56, The Basement. I was so excited to see what actually was going to be in there. I mean, the show has been dropping nuggets and hints throughout the entire series. So it was just kind of, I was like, part of me was terrified that there was going to be nothing, and or that it was going to be a clue leading to another adventure and we weren't going to get any answers, and I'm so glad that my fears were not actualized. But before I talk about kind of what was in the basement and definitely that end scene, because people were telling me you gotta watch it, and oh my gosh, am I so glad that I watched it. But I want to talk about kind of the stuff before that happened, namely Armin, and kind of what's going to be going on with him, or what I assume maybe will go on with him. I don't know. Because I'm going into this blind. I haven't read the manga. I always mispronounce that. I'm sorry. Um, so, based on what I've seen with the character and all those things, I'm really worried. I'm so worried that Armin is going to really struggle, not only with the idea that like he was chosen instead of Erwin, but that like he feels the need to step up and be the leader that they essentially let die. And Armin doesn't do the best under pressure. Well, maybe that's unfair, but he's been kind of inconsistent under pressure, but definitely comes in when at the very end, I guess. I don't know. So I'm worried to see how the weight of that responsibility is going to push on him, coupled with the fact that he has this new power that he has to figure out how to use. Um, so that's kind of a big thing, and also how he's going to handle the memories of someone else. I mean, could you imagine waking up one day and having memories of someone else, but also you have your memories and you have to figure out like what's yours and what's theirs, and at some point do the memories of that other person start to feel more real, maybe as Armin becomes more um uh what's the term, not committed, in touch with his Titan self. I'm maybe the memories of other people are going to become more vibrant, and is that going to put pressure on his sanity, much like we saw with Reiner? I mean, obviously you had the issue of him be going undercover and all that stuff, but having those powers has got to put pressure on someone's mental state. And so I'm very concerned about what we're going to see with Armin going forward. So, um, I am amazed that Sasha and Connie are still around. Like, shocked. That's not to say that I'm happy about it, but I'm just really surprised because they haven't gotten a lot of focus recently. And so it'd be easy just to kill them off. My own one thought is that they're going to play a larger role in the future. Um, I don't want them just to turn into kind of a red shirt type character where like they're not really contributing to the plot a ton, but oh, this episode we need someone to die, so let's knock off Connie. I'm really hoping that's not the case. I feel like the writer is much what's the he's much more faithful to his characters than like the writers of Star Trek were. Um and so I feel like they're going to have good endings, if they have endings at all, or whether they're going to make it to the end, I don't know, but I'm I'm kind of surprised. I'll just say that. All right. So, the run up to the basement, that was beautiful, wonderful. It was ethereal. The music was gorgeous. Um, the contrast between the color palettes of the two, where you have kind of the pastel vibrant colors of their childhood kind of uh, contrasted with kind of the gray, kind of beigey, bleakish feel of the current. It was just maybe not beige, beige and bleak, but more realistic. I don't know how to describe it, but there's definitely a difference in color. One has more of like an airbrush quality, which makes sense because you definitely look back on your childhood with an airbrush, and you look back at your positive memories, kind of like, oh yeah, you kind of gloss over some of the negative things. Obviously, there's some major negative things that happen in their childhood, and you see that, especially as they approach the house. And when I realized that this was the last time that they took that trip was to see obviously Aaron's mother get killed was really, oh. But the fact that they kept that kind of glowy palette throughout the entire kind of flashback was heartbreaking and really quite lovely. I love a good flashback. I think they're overused. Not in this show. I'm just talking in general. I think the flashbacks are overused. It's sometimes a sloppy way of storytelling, but this show definitely uses them sparingly enough where they don't bother me. And I actually think that they add a lot. So, but a lot of times when people use flashbacks, I'm just like, really? Could you have not shown that? Like, do you not have faith in your actors that they're able to emote or convey that feeling without? Yeah, not a big fan of flashbacks, but a good flashback, like, it really lets me reevaluate my position on them. So, all right, so down into the basement. I love those trick cabinets or hidden compartments. There are these old kind of desks from like the 1700s and 1600s that have secret compartments, and you can kind of move something and something else pops up by a spring. And I think those things are so cool, and I wish I could afford one, but they are so expensive because they're antique and they're rare. They were rare then and expensive then, but they're even worse now. But I loved the fact that they added that little snippet, the fact that there's a special little drawer that pops out with a false bottom to the drawer. As a kid, I always tried to make false bottoms of drawers by putting cardboard. Anyway, I love that type of thing, so I was really glad that they incorporated that. And I was not expecting it just to be journals. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe like paraphernalia from like his past life or something. Maybe like a serial killer, like web of stuff with all the pictures and the string. Probably not. That wouldn't have made any sense given the tone of this show, but the journals make sense. And so now I guess we get to figure out what's in the journals, which is awesome. And I mean, I gotta wonder, like, how is Aaron gonna handle that? The fact that his father, like, kept all this a secret. Like, that's just... I feel like he would be upset, but I feel like there's enough secrets with his dad that this is just nothing new. It's just, again, I guess unpuzzling or piecing together like the person that was his dad. Which, let's be honest, as we grow older, that's something that we definitely do with our parents, is as we develop and as we grow and we get new experiences, we start to see our parents in a very different light. And they're no longer like this kind of removed individual, but someone that had secrets and thoughts and a whole other life before you. And I feel like this is a really interesting way to look at that. So, all right, the end scene. So I rewatched it because I felt like I got most of everything that I could out of it, but I wanted to give it a second go around. I didn't mention all the stuff that I kind of gleaned from it the first time in my reaction, so I'm really looking forward to a kind of unpacking this end sequence. All right, so let's see. All right, so I assume Faye is his sister. That seems kind of, Faye feels like a very feminine name. And yes, I understand. I picked up that Grisha, or is it Grisha? Grisha? That's Aaron's dad. Like I got that. I felt like it was just kind of someone on my Patreon was like, "Did you not realize it's his dad?" And I was like, "No, I realized. It was just one of those things where I thought everyone realized it, so I didn't really feel the need to comment on it." But I assume that Faye and Grisha are siblings. And the first thing that I really noticed was the color difference. The fact that there's no reds, there's no blues, there's no violets, there's no flowers. The kind of vibrance that was Aaron's childhood was very much not his father's childhood. Everything's beige, browns, grays. They seem very poor. If you look at the mom, she has like the deep circles under her eyes. They just kind of look world worn. And then when you have the armbands, I was like, oh well, that's clearly the armbands that the Germans, let's call it, instead of German, the Nazis required the Jews to wear. I mean, that's really, yeah. And so, that was just like, oh, clearly this is what this is, and there's a reason why they feel very kind of weary. It's because they're probably in a ghetto, and I don't mean ghetto like the way we use ghetto in the United States, where it's like, you know what I'm talking about with ghetto in the United States. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like where you had people that were forcefully sequestered in an area and their movement was limited from that area. And one could make the argument that the United States has a history of that type of behavior and they would be merited, but that's not what we're talking about. So, but I think this show is really looking at the Jewish ghetto for inspiration. They also have, let's see, what is it? Okay, so the fact that they live in what seems to be a ghetto, they seem to be very poor. That tells me that Grisha somehow leaves the walls, because the way they are right now, they are not in a financial position to have photographs. So somehow he rises above his humble beginnings as a child. So does he escape the walls to go into a different kind of area where he's able to live a life and grow and develop and become wealthy? Because they seem like they've got pretty good clothing in the photograph, and also he's trained as a doctor, and that seems like a pretty I wouldn't say cushy job, but definitely one of status. So he leaves the walls to go out and live his life, and then he re-enters the wall, which I found a unique thing. Who knows? Maybe this doesn't happen, but that's kind of what I'm thinking goes on. So then, obviously we have the parallel of the walls, the fact that the people at the beginning, Aaron and his childhood friends, they can't leave the wall. Everyone is kind of held in, and also Grisha is told that he cannot leave the walls either. Obviously, we see that those walls are different, where he can clearly run through what looks like a customs gate and into another world, essentially. And obviously, the individuals at the beginning of Attack on Titan cannot. Let's see. I did notice on the walls the loudspeakers, which lends credence to the idea that they are in a ghetto, that they're told maybe about curfew, or that there are or that there could be warnings, there's bombings, or there's Titans coming or something, but loudspeakers on walls surrounding dwellings does not feel like a comforting, warm place to grow up. Just gonna put that out there. Also, there was writing. There's characters on different walls. And I don't know whether these are, they don't necessarily look like any language that I've seen, but then again, I'm kind of ignorant to a lot of languages, a lot of characters. So if that's, those are Japanese characters or something, which I don't think so. But if they are, please let me know. Or if they seem reminiscent of a writing structure, I'd love to hear about it. Yeah, the fact that Grisha and Faye run through the gate, and it looks like they're running into a wealthier area. So you have the poor area, and then you have the rich area, and the fact that the blimp is landing in the rich area, that suggests that you have some isolation of poor versus rich, kind of like the underground versus the above ground in the kind of in Levi's childhood. And when it talks about the truth, when he talks about like the truth that he finds out, like what is that truth? Are we talking societal divisions? Are we talking about the fact that there are titans? Is it that there's a wall beyond the wall? I don't know. So that'll be interesting to see. I expect that the next episode will really focus on Grisha. That's what I'm thinking. It's kind of setting up for kind of the other side of the story, or maybe his father's narrative. I still would love to know the backstory of Berholt and Reiner and Annie and those individuals. So I'm hoping that that is explored at some point, but there's only so much time. That was a lot, and I feel like I was just very but I wanted to get everything in, and I actually have to go let Hurley out because Chris is at work and I have a little bit of a vacation before I start my new job. So, which I will talk about in a vlog coming up. So anyway, I hope you guys have an awesome day. I will be giving you guys Steins Gate episode 2. The reaction has been on Patreon for a while. I just haven't had time to like sit down and think about my thoughts on it. Think about it and convey my thoughts in the video medium. Anyway, so I will get that out to you as soon as possible, and I'll also be watching Dragon Ball Z, and I also have a thought about why I picked Armin over Erwin, and my thoughts on Flock and Moblit and all that. So I'll be doing a video on that. So there's just going to be tons of videos coming out soon. I got new lighting, and I got a new microphone that I'm going to try out. We'll see if it's worth it or not. I kept the packaging in case I wanted to return it. All right. Well, have a great day, and I will see you next time.